Hey guys, Tactical Minds here, and today we want to go ahead and give you some basics on what we call sign cutting and tracking, two skills that are very important to have, and even more importantly to have, post an SHTF scenario. So we're going to get into some basics today. This is going to be a first part of probably 4 or 5 part series. We'll get into some more advanced, some counter tracking, some urban tracking, and then hopefully maybe hands-on kind of display later on. But like I said, today's going to be a basic introduction to it. What is sign cutting and tracking, and basics of how to do it, some kind of how-tos and what not to do. As usual, before we go ahead and get into any of it, please hit those likes. Again, lets YouTube know to show the video. Comment, put in there whatever you want. Just comment. Share with your friends if you like the channel, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications anytime we do a video. Really appreciate it, guys. And again, as always, to my new subscribers, thank you so much for joining. Welcome aboard, and we're happy to have you. So, with that being said, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the basics, okay? So first things first, right? We talk about sign cutting, we talk about tracking. What is sign cutting? What is tracking? So let's go sign cutting first, okay? When you're looking for something or someone, whether it be an animal or a person, and you're looking for right now, we'll get away from the urban area. Let's say we're looking in off-terrain area, whether it be woods or desert, whatever, right? We're looking for sign. Now, what is sign? Sign is any type of disturbance in the earth that is going to leave an impression of where that person or animal is going, right? So footprints, for say, branches broken in a direction where somebody might have gone through. Prints of an animal, right? Hoof prints, rabbit prints, deer prints, something like that. Those actual impressions, those things we're looking for, those disturbances in the earth, and there's high and low sign. We'll talk more about that later, but those disturbances in the earth that we're looking for is the sign, okay? Now, actually finding that sign and being able to stay on top of it is sign cutting, okay? We're cutting for sign. We're looking for that sign so that we can stay on top of that stuff, right? So now tracking is the what comes later, right? So tracking is basically we're sign cutting, and then while we're following up on that sign, we are tracking, right? We're tracking to see where that person goes that we're tracking. We're tracking to see where that, animal goes, if that's what we're looking for, is, if we're hunting. And then also, using things such as counter tracking to see if somebody's tracking us, how to throw somebody off our track, things like that, right? Maybe you and another individual are tracking an animal together, right? You're both going for the same kill and trying to make sure you get there before they do. But again, we'll go into kind of more advanced with that later on. So again, sign cutting is the disturbances in the earth that we're looking for. Tracking is the art of actually following up on the sign. So some things to consider when we're sign cutting. So first thing is, whenever possible, you want to always be cutting sign into the sun. You want to always kind of have the sun coming at you, right? Because what that's going to do is that's going to cast a shadow on the sign and allow you to, see it better, allow you to see the prints or the depressions more clearly, right? Another thing we touched on just a moment ago, right? High sign versus low sign. So when we say things like low sign, again, we're looking for prints, right? Whether it be animal or human prints, right? We're looking for tracks. We're looking for feet prints, whether they're barefoot, wearing a shoe, again, animal prints. Those are kind of your low signs, right? We're looking for depressions. Let's say we're coming up on an area where the ground is real flat, and as it comes up to like maybe a dirt road, there's a little dirt ridge, right? Well, on that dirt ridge, if somebody crossed over, there may be a depression. It may not leave a perfect print, but it may take that little hump in the, dirt and flatten it out, right? Creating a depression, letting us know that, again, that area was disturbed. Somebody came through there recently, right? Those are more of our low signs, right? Kicked over rocks. Let's say you're walking through a creek bed and there's just a lot of rocks everywhere, right? Look for a rock that, is heavy enough that the wind didn't just blow it over, but it's going to need to be moved out of place, right? So if you see the little depression left from the rock that was sitting there, while that was kicked out of place, right? Whether it be an animal or a human you're tracking, those are indicators that somebody has moved through that area. Again, the disturbances, in the earth, right? We talk about high sign. High sign, we're looking for things like, let's say, an area where you're walking through and it's very heavily vegetated, right? There's a lot of thick brush, a lot of thick trees, a lot of vegetation, right? Well, again, you want to know the area you're tracking in, right? So let's say you're tracking in that area and that in order for you to get through a certain area, right? Or let's say you're tracking that low sign and you see it goes through an area where there's a lot of this vegetation, right? So in order to get through that area, you're going to have to walk past this, right? So now we're going to look for high sign. Let's look at those branches. Are those branches broken, in the direction that the sign's traveling? That's high sign we look for. Things like if somebody's walking through there, they're wearing a jacket or a backpack. A lot of times we can look on those tree branches and those limbs. We can look for fibers, right? Maybe some strands that have been ripped off a backpack or a burlap sack or something like that. Or, maybe a piece of a t-shirt or something like that that's been cut. Maybe somebody's wearing a wool cap. It's cold out, right? Little pieces of the wool that's been left on there. Those are things like high sign that we're looking for. Other things, again, kind of going back to low sign. Let's say, we can't see those, we don't have good dirt, so we can't see those good depressions, right? We can't see those good footprints. Well, another thing we can do is, if we look in an area where there's a lot of, high, tall grass and stuff like that, depending on the time of the day, there's a couple of things, right? If it's early in the morning, when the dew falls down and the grass is kind of perfectly fresh, wet, right, in the morning, a lot of times if somebody has moved through there, you're going to see an area that doesn't look wet, right? It's going to be almost like a trailblaze through there because somebody's walked through there and effectively kicked up all that morning dew and left it on their pant legs, on their person, basically taking it off of the grass, right? So it'll almost look like a trails blaze through there. Or let's say there's not, dew. Let's say it's another time of the day. It's just a high grass, right? So the grass, the blades are naturally going to sit like, straight up like that, right? Like at attention. So if someone's walked through there, we're going to see, again, it's going to almost look like a trails blaze through there if you know what you're looking for, right? You're going to see the grass all kind of matted and laid down and maybe looks like a herd of deer or cattle or somebody walked through there or even a group of people walk through there, right? Those are, other things we can look for if we can't find the obvious. Again, this is basics. We're not going to go into, everything about it. There's certainly a lot of other things that we'll talk about in the more advanced, videos later on. Things such as like when you lose the sign, reacquiring it using a button hook technique. Things such as, when we're tracking, whether it be an animal or a individual, a human being or whatever, a lot of things that people do, even expert trackers, a lot of times when they're tracking, everybody's kind of looking down or looking up as far as like focused on the sign, right? Let's say you've got a good line of sign going, a bunch of good, really footprints and good depressions, right? They're kind of focused on that sign. They're looking on that sign. They're tracking for that sign, right? But what they don't do, and it's very important that you do, especially in an SHTF scenario or any scenario, is every now and again, look up, stop, look up, look left, look right, orientate yourself, look what's going on around you. Maybe you've got sign of somebody not too far off from you that's actually tracking you or tracking the same, kill that you're tracking. So it's important that we look up once in a while and kind of orient ourselves, get an idea of where we're at. Maybe we're just tracking blindly into an area and we're getting lost and we don't even realize it, right? So every now and again, you got to stop, look around, especially if you're in a low area. And you think that there might be other people possibly tracking with you, right? Because again, areas of elevation is going to give people tactical advantages if they're trying to come at you, right? So got to stop, do stuff like that. A thing we often use in tracking is called SLS, which is SLLS, Sierra Lima Lima Sierra. Sierra Lima Lima Sierra, not Sierra Lima Sierra, whatever the hell I was saying, right? Any event, SLS, right? So SLS stands for stop, look, listen, and smell. Okay. And that's a good thing that we can use when we're tracking. Basically, we're tracking for a while, we kind of lose it, or even if we don't and we're on top of it, right? One of the things we want to do is stop, right? And now when I stop personally, I like to take a knee. I like to kind of get low to the ground. That helps me do a lot of things. One, kind of helps me center, kind of brings me down a little bit. Two, slows my heart rate down, right? Because I don't want to hear the sound of my own heart beating and my respirations. I want to slow my heart rate down. I want to start to focus my ears, my sense of smell, my eyes. I want to focus more intently my other senses as to what's going on around me, right? So we stop, right? And we look. Again, we're looking around, right? We're looking for possible adversaries out there, possible people tracking us, maybe other animals or, disturbances in the area. We're looking around for that kind of stuff, right? Maybe a bush or a tree limb or something further out in the distance that is kind of moving a little bit. Maybe that, animal or the person we're tracking is just not that far past us and they're sitting there and they're kind of stopping, waiting for you to push past them, right? But they make a little bit of movement. So we're kind of looking for things like that, right? Looking for disturbances. Maybe we've been looking at the ground the whole time, but we forgot to look up high, right? We forgot to look for that high side. Maybe all of a sudden we look up and we do see a bunch of those branches broken in that direction, right? So stop and look, right? Looking for those things. Listening is another big thing, right? If the area we're in, depending on where it is, whether it be desert, woods, whatever, a lot of times there's things on the ground that makes noise, right? Broken branches, people kicking up a rock, somebody hitting their shin, somebody clearing their throat, somebody sniffling their nose because it's cold out and they've got a little bit of, cold or an allergy or something. A lot of different things we can listen for, right? So we want to listen. We want to really focus on our ears on where we're at, right? Listen for what's going on. And the last thing is smell, right? So smell's another big one. So let's say, again, animals, certain types of animals, different types of smells, right? Animal feces. Animal feces is going to smell a certain way. Animal feces versus human feces is going to smell a certain way, right? If it's a person and they're out there, a lot of times cold nights, even in the desert, right? Cold nights, people a lot of times want to go ahead and start a fire, right? So we can smell for that campfire smoke, smell for the differences in the human being, right? You may be out there a couple of days with, sweat and funk and you kind of smell like BO, right? But somebody else's BO is going to smell different from your body odor, right? Again, if they're out there and they've been camping a few nights and setting up fires, you're going to smell that campfire smoke on their person. Even if they're far away from that area where that fire is, you can smell that wood burning smoke on a person's body for days. You got to remember, if they're out there the same as you, they're not taking showers either, right? So those are some of the things, like I said, stop, look around for the things, listen for any sounds we can hear, smell for those different types of smell in the environment. And, like I said, maybe take just a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, right? Kind of bring your respirations down, bring your heart rate down, and sharpen your other senses and look for those things, right? So those are some other things that, we can do when we're tracking. And again, this is just kind of the basics, guys. We'll go into more stuff in another video as far as like getting thrown off the track, counter tracking, tracking at night, like what type of flashlights to use. A lot of people want to use the brightest LED bulb they can. And a lot of times that is going to be your worst option. A lot of times your lower yellow incandescent light is going to be your better option for tracking. But again, those are things we'll get into in a more advanced video. So that's the basics for today, guys. I hope you learned a little bit as far as what sign cutting and tracking are and a couple of good techniques. And again, we'll go over more advanced ones in some other videos to follow. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, stay safe, stay tactical, stay dangerous, and stay on top of your sign cutting and tracking. Have a great day, guys.